Well, I can't quit you, baby.
And let me say, this is for no one in particular. Enter Ahab, then all. It was not a great while after the affair of the pipe that one morning, shortly after breakfast, Ahab, as was his wont, ascended the cabin gangway to the deck. There, most sea captains usually walk at that hour as a country gentleman after the same meal takes a few turns in the garden. Soon his steady ivory stride was heard, and to and fro he paced his old rounds upon planks so familiar to his tread that they were all over indented like geological stones with the particular mark of his walk. Did you fixedly gaze too upon that ribbed and dented brow? There also you would see still stranger footprints, the footprints of his one unsleeping, ever-pacing thought. But on the occasion in question, those dents looked deeper, even as his nervous step that morning left a deeper mark. And so full of his thoughts was Ahab that at every uniform turn that he made, now at the mainmast and now at the binnacle, you could almost see that thought turn in him as he turned, and pace in him as he paced, so completely possessing him indeed, that it all but seemed the inward mold of every outward moving. "D'ye mark him, Flask?" whispered Staub. "The check that's in him pecks the shell. 'Twill be out soon." The hours wore on. Ahab now shut up within his cabin, anon pacing the deck with the same intense bigotry of purpose in his aspect. It drew near the close of day. Suddenly he came to a halt by the bulwarks, and inserting his bone leg into an auger hole there, and with one hand grasping a shroud, he ordered Starbuck to send everybody aft. "Sir," said the mate, astonished at an order seldom or never given on shipboard except in some extraordinary case. "Send everybody aft," repeated Ahab. "Mastheads there, come down." When the entire ship's company were assembled, with curious and not unwholly apprehensive faces, were eyeing him, for he looked not unlike the weather horizon when a storm is coming up. Ahab, after repeatedly glancing over the bulwarks and then darting his eyes among the crew, started from his standpoint, and as though not a soul were nigh him, resumed his heavy turns upon the deck. With bent head and half-slouched hat, he continued to pace, unmindful of the wondering whispering among the men, till Staub cautiously whispered to Flask that Ahab must have summoned them there for the purpose of witnessing a pedestrian feat. But this did not last long. Vehemently pausing, he cried, "What do you do when you see a whale, men?" "Sing out for him," was the impulsive rejoinder from a score of clubbed voices. "Good," cried Ahab, with wild approval in his tones, observing the hearty animation into which his unexpected question had so magnetically thrown them. "And what do you do next, men?" "Lower away and after him." "And what tune do you pull to, men?" "A dead whale or a stove boat." More and more strangely and fiercely glad and approving grew the countenance of the old man at every shout, while the mariners began to gaze curiously at each other, as if marveling how it was that they themselves became so excited at such seemingly purposeless questions. But they were all eagerness again as Ahab, now half revolving in his pivot hole, with one hand reaching high up a shroud and tightly, almost convulsively grasping it, addressed them thus: "All ye mastheaders have now heard me give orders about a white whale. Look ye, do ye see this Spanish ounce of gold?" holding up a broad, bright coin to the sun. "It's a $16 piece, men. Do ye see it? Mr. Starbuck, hand me yon topmaul." While the mate was getting the hammer, Ahab, without speaking, was slowly rubbing the gold piece against the skirt of his jacket, as if to heighten its luster, and without using any words was meanwhile lowly humming to himself, producing a sound so strangely muffled and inarticulate that it seemed the mechanical humming of the wheels of his vitality in him. Receiving the topmaul from Starbuck, he advanced toward the mainmast, and with the hammer uplifted in one hand, exhibiting the gold coin with the other, and with a high raised voice exclaiming, Whosoever of ye raises me a white-headed whale with a wrinkled brow and a crooked jaw, whosoever of ye raises me that white-headed whale with 3 holes punctured in his starboard fluke, look ye, whosoever of ye raises me that same white-headed whale, he shall have this gold ounce, me boys. Huzzah! Huzzah! Cried the seamen, as with swinging tarpaulins they hailed the act of nailing the gold to the mast. It's a white whale, I say, resumed Ahab as he threw down the topmaul. A white whale. Skin your eyes for him, men. Look sharp for white water. If you see but a bubble, sing out! All this while, Tashtego, Daggoo, and Queequeg had looked on with ever more intense interest and surprise than the rest. And at the mention of the wrinkled brow and crooked jaw, they had started as if each was separately touched by some specific recollection. Captain Ahab, said Tashtego, that white whale must be the same one they call Moby Dick. Moby Dick, shouted Ahab. Do you know the white whale then, Tash? Does he fantail a bit curious, sir, before he goes down, said the gay-header deliberately. And has he a curious spout, too, said Daggoo. Very bushy, even for a parmacetti. Mighty quick, Captain Ahab. And have he 1, 2, 3, oh, good many iron in him hide too, Captain, cried Queequeg disjointedly. Oh, twiskety be twist like him, faltering hard for a word and screwing his hand round and round as though uncorking a bottle. Like him. Corkscrew, cried Ahab. Aye, Queequeg, the harpoons lie all twisted and wrenched in him. Aye, Daggoo, his spout is a big one, like a whole shock of wheat, and white as a pile of our Nantucket wool after the great annual sheep shearing. Aye, Tashtego, and he fans like a split jib in a squall. Death and devils, man! It's Moby Dick you've seen! Moby Dick! Moby Dick! Captain Ahab, said Starbuck, who with Staub and Flask had thus been eyeing his superior with increasing surprise, but at last seemed struck with a thought which somewhat explained all the wonder. Captain Ahab, I have heard of Moby Dick, but it was not Moby Dick that took off thy leg. Who told thee that? Cried Ahab, then pausing. Aye, Starbuck, aye, me hearties all around, was Moby Dick that dismasted me. Moby Dick that brought me to this dead stump I now stand on. Aye, and he shouted it with a loud animal sob like that of a heart-struck moose. Aye, and it was that accursed whale that raised me, made a poor begging lubber of me forever and a day. Then tossing both arms with measureless implications, he shouted, Aye, and I'll chase him round Good Hope, and around the Horn, and around the Norway Maelstrom, around perdition's flames before I give him up. And this is what you ship for, mates. To chase that white whale on both sides of land and on all sides of the earth till he spouts black blood, rolls fit out. What say ye, men? Will ye splice hands on it now? I think you do look brave. Aye, shouted the harpooneers and seamen, running closer to the excited old man. A sharp eye for the white whale, a sharp glance for Moby Dick. God bless ye, he seemed to half sob and half shout. God bless ye, men. Stewart, go draw the great measure of grog. But what's this long face about, Mr. Starbuck? Wilt thou not chase the white whale? Art thou not game for Moby Dick? I am game for his crooked jaw and for the jaws of death too, Captain Ahab, if it fairly comes in the way of the business we follow. But I came here to hunt whales, not my commander's vengeance. How many barrels will thy vengeance yield thee, even if thou gettest it, Captain Ahab? It will not fetch thee much in our Nantucket market. Nantucket market, hoot! But come closer, Starbuck. Thou requirest a little lower layer. If money's to be the measurer, man, and the accountants have computed their great counting house the globe by girding it with guineas 1 to every 3 parts of an inch, then let me tell thee that my vengeance will fetch a great premium here. He smites his chest, whispered Staub. What's that for? Methinks it rings most vast but hollow. Vengeance on a dumb brute, cried Starbuck, that simply smote thee from blindest instinct? Madness! To be enraged with a dumb thing, Captain Ahab, seems blasphemous, sir. Hark ye yet again, a little lower layer. All visible things, men, are but pasteboard masks. But in each event, in every living act, the undoubted deed, there, some unknown but still reasoning thing puts forth the moldings of its features from behind the unreasoning mask. If man will strike, strike through the mask. How can the prisoner reach outside except by thrusting through the wall? To me, the white whale is that wall shoved near to me. Sometimes I think there's naught beyond. But 'tis enough. He tasks me. He heaps me. I see in him outrageous strength with inscrutable malice sinewing it. That inscrutable thing is chiefly what I hate. Be it the white whale agent or be it the white whale principal, I will wreak that hate upon him. Talk not to me of blasphemy, man. If I'd strike the sun, if it insulted me. For could the sun do that, then I could do the other, since there's ever a sort of fair play herein, jealousy presiding over all creation. But not my master, man, is ever that fair play. Who's over me? Truth has no confines. Take off thine eye. More intolerable is a fiend's glare than a doltish stare. So, thou reddenest and palest. My heat has melted thee to anger glow. But look ye, Starbuck, what is said in heat, that thing unsays itself. There are men from whom warm words are small in dignity. I meant not to incense thee. Let it go. Look, see yonder Turkish cheeks of spotted tarn, living, breathing pictures painted by the sun. The pagan leopards, the unreasoning, unworshipping things that live and seek and give no reason for their torrid life they feel. The crew, man, the crew. Are they not one and all with Ahab in this matter of the whale? See Staub, he laughs. See yonder Chilean, he snorts to think of it. Stand up amidst the general hurricane, thy one-tossed sapling cannot, Starbuck. And what is it? Reckon it. 'Tis but to help strike a fin. No wondrous feat for Starbuck. What is more, from this one poor hunt, in the best lance out of all Nantucket, surely he will not hang back when every foremast hand has clutched a whetstone. Aye, constraining seas thee I see, the billows lift thee. Speak, but speak. Aye, thy silence then, that voices thee. Something shot from my dilated nostrils. He has inhaled it in his lungs. Starbuck is now mine, cannot oppose me now without rebellion. God keep me, keep us all, murmured Starbuck lowly. And we will continue the end of this speech. I mean, don't you want to know where Ahab goes with this?